Gabriel. Who is Gabriel?
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2021 horror film Malignant, a film that is written and directed by James Wan, and it stars Annabelle Wallis, Maddie Hansen, and George Young. Now, this is the return to the horror genre from James Wan, who basically gave us the Conjuring movies and the Conjuring universe, you could argue, and Saw at the same time. So he's got a huge reputation in regards to horror. It's great to see him back doing what he arguably does best. And this film focuses on Annabelle Wallis's character, Madison, who is an abused wife who has been trying very, very hard to get pregnant for a number of years, can't seem to manage, has a lot of miscarriages, and then one fateful night her husband is murdered by seemingly supernatural forces or an intruder, and this triggers a chain of events that leads Annabelle Wallis's character to reconnect to some dark person from her past. I don't really want to say much more on the story. You really want to go into this story not knowing a great deal. I went into this film not even watching a trailer, hadn't seen a trailer. I wasn't hugely aware of this film. It wasn't really on my radar too much. But it seems to be a film that is dividing audiences, and certainly the communities that I associate with, a lot of them have got very varied opinions on this film. Some are enjoying it, some aren't. Some are even claiming it's the worst horror film of the year, etc. For me, where do I sit on Malignant? I actually am leaning more towards the positive than the negatives here. However, that's not to say that this film doesn't have its problems and issues. It really does. There's some pretty clumsy storytelling going on. There's some very convenient exposition dumps going on in the film. And I kind of figured out what was going on about 3/4 of the way into film, maybe a little bit less than that. I figured out what was happening, which kind of spoiled it for me. It wasn't really hard to figure out though, so I'm sure a lot of you figured it out at the same time. But I have to say, and the trailer I did see after watching this, and it's the one with James Wan where he sort of says, there's like a mini interview in the trailer saying, you've got to take risks, you've got to try and do something new, and give something the audience they haven't seen before. And I have to say, I applaud him for that, and I do think this film is very much in that bracket. He is trying something new here with the horror genre. It's not, wholly original here, but I liked what he did here. He was trying to create another new iconic horror character. There was at times in the film I'm thinking, are we being presented here with the new Freddy or the new Jason or the new Michael Myers sort of thing? You could see that this could easily become a franchise. So I did. I got a lot of enjoyment out of this. I thought the performances were great here. Annabelle Wallis in particular was very, very good as Madison. I thought there was some very nice inventive shots in the film. Very nicely directed by James Wan. He does, if you've seen a James Wan film and you're a fan of James Wan's work, you're going to immediately recognise it's a James Wan film. Very polished, some very good creative shots going on. He's got his usual tension building with some intense music playing at the same time to kind of scratch away at your brain while things are happening. It's got a few jump scares here and there. And even though it is chock full of horror tropes that you will recognise, like flickering lights and all this kind of stuff, I actually do appreciate the fact that it did try and do something new. It goes full on action, about 3/4 of the way through. It goes full on Terminator at one point in a police station. But I like the concept here. I like this character that was created here in this film. I thought the effects for the most part stood up well. There's minimal use of CGI, I would say. There is a couple of shots that stand out as CGI, but nothing like the recent Unholy film with Jeffrey Dean Morgan, a film that I thought was okay. There was some pretty dodgy CGI effects in that film. There's none really here to speak of that jump out at you, even though there are a couple that are clearly CGI. So I didn't have a problem with the effects at all. Lots of I've got lots of questions. It hints at the beginning of the film that this is supernatural, presents ghostly images and things like that. And then it presents you something else later. So it was giving you red herrings almost in the film that it never really answers early on. And the bit I just thought was a bit stupid. I mean, this character, Madison, was in like a hospital, which it just showed at the beginning, where they were helping her and treating her. And then, for some reason, these doctors are all targeted. And this hospital where she was based is all closed down. But her sister, Sydney, goes to this closed down hospital and finds, conveniently, boxes full of VHS tapes left by the doctors that explain everything. I mean, it's twaddle. It's really lazy writing when they do that in films, and it bothers me, you know, the fact that you could just turn up to an abandoned building and get all the answers you could ever want. So, yeah, frustrating narrative, some real weak exposition stuff going on. But I must admit, I'm not going to lie, I was entertained by this. I did think it was something different, something a little bit new. Very gory at times, lots of blood. It's like a cross between like a slasher film and almost like a monster movie kind of thing. It's got all these different elements it's trying to mesh together, and it's reasonably successful at it. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I was entertained by it. It's certainly not worst film of the year material. I thought it was pretty good. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you like this review. I will be back, of course, with plenty more content on the channel very, very soon.